that it's behind enemy lines night, which means I've got my Jags expert in the house. That happens to be Jason from Jaguars United. Jason, brother, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Dude, I'm just happy to be here, man. I appreciate it. Man. I always love talking to other fans and other content creators. And, I've seen a bunch of your stuff. You do a great job. You got some great fans, too. So you got it going on over there.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. This one should be a really fun show. I got a lot of questions about these Jags, man. A lot of questions. And some of them are going to center around Trevor Lawrence. I got to get your thoughts on him. But before we get there, every time the schedule comes out, you go through it as a content creator, you comb through it, you do your win-loss predictions. And out of curiosity, 3 games into the season, are the Jags meeting the expectations of what you had with them? Are they exceeding them possibly, or are they falling a little bit short? Where did you have them at this point in the season before everything started?
Man, everybody was all over the place with this, with the team being so new. A first-year coach, first-year GM, first-year EVP, first-year OC, first-year DC. So people were all over the map where like their win total was. I mean, Vegas had us at 6.5. So I mean, there wasn't very high standards for us. I was a little bit pessimistic. I've been a Jags fan my entire life. I've gotten my hopes up every year. So I had us kind of penciled in around 8 wins. But for how we look so far, I mean, I think we crushed the 8-win mark. Maybe not, 12 wins, but I think this team is a lot better than people in national media think. And so I'm really expecting a good year this year, especially from what I've seen so far in these first 3 weeks.
Well, I'll say this, you've got your YouTube channel link, so I want to make sure that I'm respectful and giving you guys what you need to hear as well about the 49ers. The 49ers, same thing, all over the place. Some people had them making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. There's a ton of turnover for the 49ers. 35% of this team is new, and they have a lot of rookies that they are relying on. I will say at this point in the season, I did have them at 3-0. The schedule has been pretty easy, but that was before the season started. Once it started and all these injuries started happening, I did actually predict that they would lose week 2 to the Saints. And although that was close, it did not happen. So I would say based off the injuries, they're certainly exceeding expectations. I mean, Mac Jones started the last 2 games for the 49ers, Jason, and you guys know Mac Jones
We
very,
know
very
Mac
well.
Jones.
You
Yeah.
know him.
He
So,
played high school ball in Jacksonville.
yeah, he did. He
Yeah.
absolutely did. Yeah. So, listen, I mean, great. I would say a good backup quarterback, but you don't necessarily want to see Mac Jones week in and week out if you're trying to win football games long term, in my opinion. And they were able to get it done. Mac Jones actually played really well. Very excited to have him on as a backup. But yeah, I would say to this point, 3-0 with the circumstances, the 49ers are certainly exceeding some expectations. And, quarterback position for us isn't as controversial as maybe I view Trevor Lawrence and his situation, at least from the outside looking in, Jason. He is so hard to gauge. It's like so much talent, and he was the number 1 pick in that what was supposed to be that stacked draft class for the quarterbacks, and it just really hasn't panned out that way. And Trevor Lawrence has had some ups and downs. He's obviously gone through 3 head coaches. That's not ideal. You got a new system every year. That's not ideal. We've seen guys like Justin Herbert have to deal with something similar, but Trevor Lawrence, it from the outside looking in, I just feel like something is missing, and I can't pinpoint what it is. Jaguars fans, where are you guys at with Trevor Lawrence? Are you split on him? Are you guys confident in him? What are the thoughts when it comes to T-Law?
Yeah. So this year, which would be year 5 for him, was the first year you really saw the fan base start to kind of splinter on what they thought of him. He was always the guy who didn't get any help from the coaches, didn't get any help from the offensive line, was injured more than he was healthy, and all those things are true. But this year, you kind of started to see where fans were like, all right, you got to step up because, you're going into year 5. I think one thing that works against Trevor is that he was the number 1 overall pick. He's getting paid $250 million, and he's still with the original team that drafted him. When you look at expectations for quarterbacks, like that's as like high as it gets on a guy. So you can't really look around the league and say that for a lot of quarterbacks. Even a lot of the quarterbacks that were number 1 picks are playing with other teams now. So like he's in a unique situation where there's a lot of pressure on him. He's been in a very chaotic franchise for the last 5 years that he's been here. But when you look at what he's been able to do in this Liam Cohen offense, the stats do not tell the whole story. If you actually watch the games, I mean, the Jaguars lead the league in drops at 14. The next highest team is the Titans at 9. And these drops were
Wow.
like game winning drops, first down making drops, drops that led to interceptions. So he's really had a tough go of it with the wide receivers to the start of this year. But one thing that they can do is run the ball really well this year. And I think as the season goes on, because of that run game, you're going to see Trevor Lawrence's stats kind of catch up to who he kind of really is.
Yeah, it's tough when you evaluate a guy like T Law because you know as well as I do. I mean, football fans can only take in so much football. Not a
Right.
lot of Jaguars football being watched outside of Jags fans themselves,
Yeah.
or maybe some AFC South fans. And I can attest to this. I do know this is not just this year, Jason. You know that they've had drops galore like crazy. I remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, he had like 4 games into the season, 7 touchdowns dropped, literally dropped by his receivers, laid it right in the basket. They couldn't bring it in. I think Ridley was still on the team a couple years ago when this
Yep.
was happening. They just
Yep.
they were doing him no favors, and it seems to be the case again this year. But fans outside of Jacksonville, they don't know that. They just see the stats. They maybe see the score of the game. They see a highlight or two. Maybe he threw a pick, and then the assumption is Trevor Lawrence isn't any good. I do think the talent is clearly there, and he's not getting any favors done for him. I just when I look at him, I almost look at him similarly the way that I do with Kyler Murray, where all the talent's there. All the throws can be made. They're both mobile. They can get the job done and they can look impressive doing it. But something just seems to be a little bit off. And maybe it's as simple as he just hasn't had the coaching. He hasn't had the help around him. That's a possibility for sure. And I think time's going to tell, but he is an interesting case study for how people view the quarterback position, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that he's got some work to do. I mean, he struggled his first 3.5 years with not turning the ball over, with even fumbles more than interceptions. He still has work to do when it comes to reading defenses and making the right play. Like he wants to push the ball down the field to that second and third level rather than take the easy check down sometimes. Like, it's not really an indictment of his like arm talent. It's an indictment of his decision making. So I
Mm,
think you got to remember he's still a young guy. I mean, he was drafted as a true junior. He is still a younger guy compared to a lot of guys in this league, and that stuff's going to come, especially with the stability of a head coach and a front office that actually has his best in mind. Especially this year with Liam Cohen coming in and solidifying the offensive line. I mean, this is the best offensive line the Jaguars have had. I'm not kidding you, in like over a decade. Even that 2017 run was all in the defense. So,
mm.
I mean, this is the best offensive line we've seen in a long time. And I think that's going to help Trevor. But even with the national media or the national pundits saying that, Trevor, he's got to show it this year. A lot of Jags fans are saying the same thing. And you got to remember, Trevor Lawrence is not Liam Cohen's guy. So if things do go south, even though he is on that big contract, we know coaches like to bring in their own guys if things aren't going well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that does make things very interesting for sure. Brock Purdy is certainly a big topic for the 49ers. 49er fans mostly are all in on Brock Purdy. I'm a little bit harder on Brock, I think, than most content creators are. I think he's a good player. I do. I think he's a top 12 to 15 quarterback, and can peak out, back into top 10. But as far as like special franchise guys, like that's reserved for just a few players in the league. And I'm big on not paying quarterbacks that I don't believe are true franchise guys. I think that's how you get in trouble. And this Mac Jones thing over the last couple of weeks has really made the topic very, very interesting for the 49ers and content creation and what have you. But I do believe that Brock Purdy will be back this week, and I think that he'll play fine. But I also know that the Jags defense is for real. We might end up talking about that one a little bit later. But I also know that there are always players on every team that contribute week in and week out, Jason. And these guys, a lot of times, are lesser known to other fan bases. Guys that make big time differences, but I may not know as a non-Jags fan. So maybe you have a couple of these guys, maybe you just have one of them, but give me at least one player that you think is making a difference on this team that isn't well known to the public as of now.
Yeah, and I mean, there are definitely those. More crazy than that is like a lot of players that were, quite frankly, not very good last year. With now all these new coaches have elevated their game. You know, guys like Devin Lloyd, who looked terrible last year, are now playing amazing. Guys like Tyson Campbell, who looked like he was an overpaid corner the last couple of years, is now playing out of his mind. So, like, what's really helped the Jags is these players that have been on the roster that haven't been playing well are not now suddenly in this new culture playing well. But there are some names that maybe a lot of outside Jags fan bases may not know. One guy is our fourth wide receiver, Parker Washington, who was a sixth round draft pick out of Penn State. And he never really got playing time until this year. And with Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball, it's kind of opened up some time for that fourth wide receiver to get onto the field. And I mean, he made plays when he was on the field in the past, but now he's getting more reps and he has really shown out. He's a guy that's always open. He is really good in the yak department. And Trevor likes to throw to him. So, I mean, he reminds me a lot of Ricky Pearsall, to be honest with you. The same type of receiver, same type of guy. And he's just, buried on the depth chart, whereas Pearsall, is a little bit more elevated on the depth chart, but they're the same similar type of player as far as skill set. A guy who people know but don't realize how good he is Travon Walker. I mean, because all of the news coming out about Aiden Hutchinson should have been the first pick. Maybe he should have. Like, I'm not even arguing that. But he had back-to-back seasons with 10 sacks. He's gotten incrementally better every year to where now him and Josh Hines-Allen are a nasty tandem on the edge. And they are just wreaking havoc on all these teams they play. No one can block them. You can't double team both of them. He's a guy that's really, really come on. He's just so strong and athletic that you just can't block him. And then the final name I'll give you is a rookie this year, Bayshaw Tootin. He's a guy that we drafted in the 4th round this year. And you saw the Jags actually trade Tank Bigsby because of how impressed they were with Bayshaw Tootin. That guy, he reminds me of a little MJD, like the jersey in the background. He's tough to tackle. He's quick. And he's a guy that's as the weeks are going on, he's getting actually more of the carry load than Travis Etienne, and Etienne's playing well in addition to him. So, just an honorable mention, Robert Hainsey, a center we brought over with Liam Cohen from the Bucks, has been outstanding at the center position as well. So, I mean, it's just those types of guys that Jags never had that depth, or as our GM said, we never had the floor. He kept saying raising the floor because the stars were there, but like the talent around them wasn't. And the team did a good job of bringing in those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of good names there. Good nuggets to throw our way. I'll give you a couple on the 49ers side. D. Winters. He's a linebacker that replaced Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw was a favorite of the 49er fan base and was a mainstay here. He ended up going with the Broncos this last offseason, and a lot of 49er fans were certainly hurt by that. He's been a great mainstay next to Fred Warner, who everybody knows. But D. Winters is in year number 3, late round draft pick. If I put a number 57 jersey on him and gave him a arm brace, you would think that it is Dre Greenlaw. I mean, he is the exact same player. He plays with a ton of tenacity. His hair is always on fire. He will get a penalty from here to there, every once in a while, but he plays violent football, and you're going to see that on Sunday for sure. He definitely will do that. And then our first round pick, Mykel Williams, a name that people should recognize if they watch the NFL draft, but you go look at the box score, you're not going to see any big numbers, any big pressures, anything like that. But you guys have Eric Armstead, and Eric Armstead's a little longer in the tooth. I don't know how impactful he is for the Jaguars now, but for the 49ers, it took him a couple years. But once he came into his own, he was very impactful. And he started out as an edge, and then he moved to defensive tackle, and that's where he really made his impact. We're already seeing that from Mykel Williams, who just turned 21, by the way. His strength is already NFL ready. They'll move him to the interior on pass rushing downs, and he'll take on double teams and move the pocket back. It's very impressive to watch. So again, he may not be getting the stats himself, but he is allowing others around him to eat because he's getting in the quarterback's face and flushing them out of the pocket, and then others are making plays. And he does this multiple snaps every single game. He does not play or look like a rookie. The strength, like I said, is there. And he reminds me a bit of Eric Armstead when he came into his own. So we're very excited about him, certainly. So those are the two players that I would bring to the table on the 49ers side.
What about this Upton Stout guy? What's the deal
Upton,
with him?
listen,
What's the deal with
listen,
him? I'm seeing
Upton.
his name a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Upton Stout for sure. I mean, the 49ers have a lot of rookies that they're relying on. Upton Stout is one of them for sure. And he's had some big plays, some big pass breakups. He's still a rookie, so from time to time, you can definitely get him, but he's matching up very well. He's definitely matching up very, very well with these slot receivers. And it's not an easy position to be a nickel corner in the NFL. It really is not. And he's doing a fantastic job. So, yeah, he a good blitzer, undersized, but man, he plays with his hair on fire, a hard hitter as well, not afraid to get his nose dirty when it comes to the run game. Upton Stout is certainly another player that I could have mentioned. Great call out by you, brother.
Well, with Robert Saleh, I mean, you guys, I mean, he's just a insane defensive mind. So whoever you guys roll out there, I'm sure are going to do a great job.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, we got to hear from our sponsor, Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy football app out there, Jason. Not sure if you're aware. You can play daily fantasy, weekly fantasy, yearly fantasy, and you can have a little skin in the game, which is what we're going to do. We're going to play a little more or less. Get up to a 100% deposit match using promo code LSS. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. It's also in the description. Make sure if you're going to have some skin in the game, you do it through Sleeper using that promo code. All right, here's one thing that we always get. I'm actually going to go do this because crazy if I don't. Oh, you know what? I might have burned it too much. You can only use your freebie so many times. I've used it like 3 times already. So maybe I don't get it this week. All right. I'm gonna pick 2 49ers, then I'll let you pick 2 Jags. I'm gonna go Pearsall less on the 66.5 receiving yards. He's a little bit banged up. He's got a knee thing going on. I do think he's going to play, but the 49ers should also be getting some reinforcements back. And so I don't think they're going to have to force feed him at the level that they had been. And one thing that they are doing is force feeding Christian McCaffrey. And so I don't think both these guys can go more. I'm going to go more on Christian McCaffrey on the 41.5 receiving yards, less on 66.5 for Pearsall. We got quite a few options for you guys. You guys can go Hunter anytime TD, Tootin anytime TD, more or less. Brian Thomas, 62.5 receiving yards. T-Law, 230.5 passing yards. And Etienne, 52.5 rushing yards. Which one of these ones are you looking at here, brother?
Man, if I had to just hammer 2 of those, I would. My most confident one would be the Bashaw Tootin over a rushing touchdown, because if they do score, it will be Bashaw Tootin running it in from the goal line. That's going to be it. I don't see Trevor Lawrence throwing for 231. I think
we'll fade him.
Even if if the Jags do win, it's going to be because they run the ball. And Trevor's. I don't think either way. I mean, I don't think he's even gotten over the 230 yet. I mean, so I don't know. Yeah, that would be the 2 I would lock in on there for sure.
All right, we're gonna go less on Trevor Lawrence. We're gonna go more on Tootin. We're going to go less on Pearsall and more on McCaffrey. That's going to get us 14 times our $10. And we're going to go ahead and submit that entry there. That's going to get us $145. You can either fade us or you can tail us, whichever you want to do, but make sure you do it with Sleeper. And here's the other great thing about Sleeper before I get out of here. Free cancellation. Maybe you get a little buyer's remorse. They give you 5 minutes to pull back on your picks. We obviously never do that here at Last Second Sports, but the option is available to you. Promo code LSS for your 100% deposit match. All right, brother, let's get back into this show, man. I need to know the strength of the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot has changed in one offseason, seemingly, and there are some strengths of this team. You talked about the run game, you talked about the pass rush, and there are more, in my opinion. I've watched this team the last couple of weeks. They've been pretty impressive, man. Ultimately, what do you think the biggest strength of the Jaguars is?
Man, I mean, for me, it's got to be for the defense getting turnovers. I mean, the 49ers have a really good defense. They're ranked 3rd, onto the site that I looked up in team defense. The Jags are ranked 5th. Like, they're right there. Like, it's in through 3 weeks, the differential is not that much. So the Jags already have 9 takeaways this year, which is the same amount they had all of last year. So, I mean, they are flying around the football. They are forcing turnovers, whether it be punching the ball out, whether it be interceptions. I mean, they're doing it in every single way. The defense is, I mean, they're blitzing a crap ton, man. I mean, a first-year defensive coordinator, Campanile, he was with the Packers. He was their linebackers coach last year. I mean, he just sends the house every 2 plays. And it's, I mean, the quarterback's got to make a quick decision. Receivers got to get up at the line of scrimmage. Completely different. It's awesome. The defense is just flying around. They've been good all 3 weeks. And then the rushing attack. I mean, we are top 5 in every rushing category. This offensive line knows how to move people off the line of scrimmage in the run. We have kind of a two-headed monster. I was talking about with ETN and Tootin. And then we have another rookie who comes in on 3rd downs and on 2-minute drills, LaQuint Allen, who a lot of people have never heard of before. But
Syracuse, right?
Yeah, he may be the best pass blocking running back I've ever seen. No hyperbole. Like, the dude will square up with a DN successfully 9 times out of 10. So their backfield is stacked. Their defense flies around. If they do win this week, it's going to be because the defense balls out and holds the 49ers to a low amount of points, or we're able to control the clock and run the ball and just keep the ball away from you all.
Yeah, LaQuinn Allen, man, he was a good player coming out of Syracuse for sure, and that's kind of crazy that a rookie's able to just come in and be a great pass blocker like that. That's not normal. It really
No.
isn't. On the 49ers side, the strength of this team, man, gosh, it seems like every week they're finding out new ways to win. You know, the defense did it in weeks 1 and 3, and then the offense got it done in week 2. But um, oddly enough, I just think that the depth of this defense has been really, really strong. Now, obviously, Nick Bosa's now done for the season. We're going to see how that goes forward. But one of the things that we were worried about last year is stopping the run. What did the depth of the defensive line look like? This year, the depth has been there, and the 49ers have been sending waves along the defensive line at these offensive units, and it's really, really paid off well. Everybody's been very, very effective. There is no one superstar, especially with Bosa out, but everybody does their job, man. They're disciplined. They're well coached. Robert Saleh, as you said, is fantastic. So right now, I really think it's that front 7 for the defense that has been so fantastic for the most part, week in and week out, and closing out games. I mean, really all 3 games when they needed to make a play defensively, they've been able to do it down the stretch. That's how they won Seattle. They had to do it again against the Saints. And then last week, holding the Cardinals to a low total once again. The defense has shown out when they needed to. And so I'm going to go with that front 7 to be the strength of this team right now. And I think that could change. You know, Kittle comes back, Ayuk comes back. Eventually that could be very different. But right now, I think it's that front 7 for the defense that's really got me super impressed for the San Francisco 49ers. And it feels good to say that because that was kind of the bread and butter when they were going to these Super Bowls, and then they lost it for a bit. And I feel like they're starting to get that back.
I'm surprised you didn't mention strength of your team being not having Jake Moody anymore.
Oh, listen, man. Oh my gosh, dude. Don't even get me started. Yeah, you're right. You know what? Let me rewind that. The strength of the team is not having Jake Moody anymore. He is awful. So awful. I remember when we picked Jake Moody, I was so pissed off in round 3, and everybody's like, "Oh, just give him a chance." And I'm like, well, I don't care if he's the best kicker in the NFL. You don't pick kickers in round 3, and he's just been absolutely awful. I don't know how I think he made it onto the Bears practice squad or something. I don't know what's going on over there. But yeah, Jake Moody just didn't work out here. I wish him the best, but that has certainly turned into a strength. He was bad, very bad. Nice. Well played. Samir says, "What's up, gents? Who has a higher floor?" This is a good question. Brock Purdy or Trevor Lawrence? Not ceiling, but floor. I'll let you answer this one first.
Man, that's a good question. I actually really like Brock Purdy a lot. I actually got to meet Brock Purdy this summer. Interesting little nugget. Brock Purdy's like quarterback coach in the offseason is the same guy who works with Caleb Williams. You're not going to like this, but Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Also like Carson Beck. Like they all have the same like guy, and they train out of Jacksonville over the summer. So Brock Purdy was here. He was out at I work in athletics and like amateur youth sports. He was out at a field that we were out at, and got to meet him. He was super nice to all of our kids. Super nice guy. He doesn't look like a football player, but when you see him throw it, you can tell that he is. So I like Brock Purdy a lot. I am going to take Trevor Lawrence here, though, just because of those intangibles that you take away. Trevor Lawrence's like decision making is where he struggles the most. But if you give him one or two reads, I mean, he throws the ball as hard as anybody in the NFL. He can fit it in tighter windows than anyone in the NFL. And he's much more athletic than people think. He's kind of shied away from running because he's taken a bunch of injuries the last couple of years and cheap hits from the Texans. But he's kind of shied away from the running aspect, but he's done it the last few weeks when he's needed to. So I just see Trevor Lawrence's skill set as a higher floor. I do think Brock Purdy has been lucky to have the weapons around him he's had the last few years, but not taking anything away from Purdy. I really like the guy. I just think high of Trevor, obviously, because I'm a homer.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I think if the question was ceiling, I would certainly go T-Law. I mean, listen, you can't teach 6'5" and a cannon arm and all the things that he brings, but I think floor wise, like Brock Purdy, I'm pretty comfortable with Brock Purdy's floor. I think that you can win football games with his floor. I think that he's pretty consistent as a player. Everybody has a bad game, sometimes an awful game. You can point to the Baltimore Ravens 4-pick game, what have you, but for the most part, he's been pretty consistent in what he brings game in and game out. Sometimes he spikes, but for the most part, we know what he is. And I'm comfortable with that. I know that the 49ers can win games with that as long as the team is built around him properly. So I'm actually going to go with Brock Purdy as far as the floor goes. If this was a ceiling question, it would be Trevor Lawrence, and it wouldn't be close. So two different questions for me. But I think it's a great question, Samir, for sure. Frank Tom Ocean says, he's a member for 30 months. So first of all, appreciate you, Frank Tom Ocean. He says, love behind enemy lines. Thanks to both of you. Jesse equals the GOAT. Well, I think Jason's the GOAT tonight, man.
No, man. I'm not.
He's given us an hour of his time, so we appreciate it. All right, brother. Give me a weakness to this team. I mean, listen, it's great to be a homer of our teams and pick them to win and all these great things, but there are certainly ways to pick on these teams. And I got to imagine that when I look at the Jaguars, there's something that the 49ers might be able to expose this weekend. And when you look at that for the Jags, what do you think that is?
Man, the clear and obvious answer is the drops. I already pointed to the 14 drops the Jaguars have already had. And these are like what we all thought were high-level receivers. Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown. I mean, these are guys that in the same game will make amazing plays, then just drop the ball. So that has got to get cleaned up. You even saw some of Trevor's frustration. A couple of Trevor's picks are because of drops. So, I mean, it's just that's got to get fixed. I don't know how you fix something that these guys have been doing since they were 5 years old, but they got to figure out how to fix it. They got to catch the ball. That's the big glaring issue. Beyond that, we've been pretty tight across the board. If I had to pick one more, our right guard, Patrick McCarry, we got from the Ravens. He gets beat from time to time. So in pass rush situations, very good run blocker, can move the line when he's moving forward, but in his pass sets and he's got to handle stunts and moves at the line of scrimmage, you do see McCarry struggle with the bull rush at times. So drops the huge one, and then McCarry is where I think the 49ers could make a little ground up if they expose that, which I'm sure Saleh will try to do.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. I would say for the 49ers, it's certainly the offensive line, especially against this defensive front. I mean, you guys are getting after the quarterback at phenomenal levels right now, and that's a concern for me. Trent Williams is a mainstay. We know that, but he's also 37, and he seems to have been he's regressed a little bit, at least from what we've seen early on in the season. Now, is he out of shape? We're not quite sure, but it could just be that he's 37 years old. And then the rest of the line is a big question mark. They just re-signed the right tackle, Colton McKivitz, but he's been probably the most consistent player along the line outside of Trent Williams. But even then, he has some times where it gets really squirrely, and this is a week where that could happen. Dominic Pooney was a player at right guard that we were so excited about his rookie year. He kind of hit that rookie wall, and then this year he started out with an injury, a knee injury, and it seems like he's continuing to play through something because he's really been struggling in pass protection as well. Jake Brendel at center is a guy that we've been wanting to get rid of for 3 years, but somehow he just sticks around. And then at left guard, we let go of Aaron Banks this offseason, who went to the Green Bay Packers. A lot of 49er fans celebrated that, but his replacement has already gotten injured. And then his replacement's a rookie who's playing awful and then is also hurt. So the offensive line is just not good right now for the 49ers. It's not doing a great job of pass protection. And my biggest concern is I do think Brock Purdy's going to play. But if he still has a little bit of that turf toe lingering, and I'm sure he will, how explosive is he going to be? That is most underrated part of his game is his short area quickness. And if he can't push off and protect himself the way that we're used to seeing, could be a very, very long day for Brock Purdy. So for me, right now, that's a concern going into this game for sure.
Let me ask you about like kind of what Jags fans are saying
Hmm.
about the 49ers, and where I
Yeah,
think we have a lot of optimism is the amount of injuries that your teams have accrued
for
across
sure.
the board. Obviously, we've already talked about Bosa, but I looked at the did not practice list today, and I don't even know how y'all held a practice. Like, who was out there? Like, I know Jags fans. I mean, listen, I see a lot of like 49ers, like good defense, can, run the ball. I see a lot of similar to both teams, but where Jags fans are kind of have a little confidence is like there's a lot of good players missing from this 49ers team, and we may have a chance with the amount of people they're missing.
Yeah, I definitely, first of all, I certainly think the Jaguars have a chance. Let me be clear about that. I'm not the guy that's going to sit up here and be like Niners by 30. Like that's not me. But I I will say that I think it can be a little bit of fool's gold. Obviously, there's some big names, Ayuk, Kittle, Jennings, Pearsall now is on the injury list. We'll see how that goes. I think that Brock Purdy plays. I think Jennings is day to day. I think he ends up playing. I don't see him sitting out 2 weeks in a row. We'll see with Pearsall. That one's really interesting. But we're also getting another receiver back in Demarcus Robinson, who they signed this offseason. He was on a 3-game suspension. I actually think the receiving core might be the healthiest it's been all season, even
Okay.
if they're missing a guy, which is crazy to say. So I think that what I will say is if the 49ers lose to the Jaguars, I'm not going to use the injury excuse. It's just they got beat by a better team on Sunday. I think the 49ers have enough to win this game. No, I don't think it'll be easy by any means, but if they lose, it's not because of the injuries. It's simply because they got beat by the better team on that particular day. So, no excuses here.
Yeah, and that's fair. I mean, listen, I never want to see players out ever for
No,
injury. I mean, I think even most players would rather play against good players. So, seeing Bosa go down, I'd be lying if it like didn't help our chances, obviously. But
for
it,
sure.
it never, you never want to see a player, especially like him, a good guy, like get out for the year. So
No, it's listen, it's not ideal. And this is his second time tearing that same ACL. So now, there's a lot of questions about his future too. It's like, okay, well, they're paying him big time money. What type of player is he going to be when he comes back? This is the second time he's been out with a torn ACL for the 49ers for essentially a whole season. You can only bounce back from that so many times. And just curious to see how that ends up playing out for him. Hopefully he's going to be okay long term, but he's getting up there too. As you start to age, you get a second torn ACL. There's a lot of question marks. So I think we're worried about that one long term for sure. And listen, the 49ers are injured, but if Brock Purdy plays, Jennings plays, you still got Trent Williams, you still got CMC, you've still got Fred Warner, you've got Diamador Lenore. D Winters is making a big impact. Like there's enough to win this game. There is enough to win this game at home. Jacksonville's also coming off of a very emotional win against the Texans team that they've really struggled against, making the Texans 0-3, which I think is massive for them and trying to make the playoffs. And I could see a situation here where maybe the Jags are riding a little bit high. You got to travel from east to west, and it's not easy to do that. We know how that works. So the 49ers should have enough. They should. But it doesn't mean that they're going to win. And that's where we're at now, man. We got to look at this score prediction. And Jaguars, like I said, they're coming off that big win. They're 2-1 right now, riding high. They're only getting better. They turned over everything in this franchise during the offseason, and they're still winning games. The question is can they get it done against the 49ers, who is another team, not a division foe like the Texans, but a team that has really kind of owned the Jaguars over the course of the
oh yeah,
last few years in which they have played. And
oh yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, that could be in his mind. We'll see.
hmm
But who do you have winning this game? What's the score prediction? And give me one reason why it goes the way that you think it's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, you're not kidding about the 49ers having our number, man. It's been disgustingly ugly the last few times we've had to play the 49ers. I actually have the Jags winning this game, but I am not confident in that at all. I really see this as a coin flip in my mind, and maybe I'm delusional. I see it as a coin flip, and because I'm a Jags fan, I'm going to take the Jags, but I really do think this is a coin flip. I mean, I look at the offensive and defensive ranks for both teams. 49ers are 23rd ranked offense, third ranked defense. Jaguars 14th ranked offense, fifth ranked defenses. So just on averages, which means nothing, I think the Jags have a slight advantage when you combine the two productivities of both sides of the ball. Obviously, traveling to the West Coast creates a dynamic there as well. I'm going to put the score low scoring. I'm going to put it 20-17. The Jags, I think this could be a game with a lot of field goals. I think this is a game where both teams drive the ball pretty well. And then once they get into the red zone, both defenses step up and force a lot of field goals. So I think it'll be a low scoring game. I'm going to give the Jags the edge again, just because of the average of those total team offenses and team defenses.
How's your field goal kicker? I think this is important.
Probably the best in the league. He hit a 70-yarder in the preseason. 70-yarder in the preseason.
I remember hearing about this.
He did miss a field goal last week, but that was his first missed field goal, I think, of his career or something like that. Like, the dude's insane.
All right. And we've talked about the 49ers side of the house when it comes to injuries. What does it look like on the Jag side of the house? Anybody questionable or out?
Jags are pretty healthy across the board.
Okay.
I mean, they have a couple bumps and bruises here, but everyone's expected to play. Anyone that's not playing hasn't been playing, but there's no one that's on the that we're expecting not to play this week that has been playing. So you're going to see the same Jaguar team that's played all 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes things interesting for sure. I do think this is going to be a very close game, and I've kind of gone back and forth on my score with this one. I picked against the 49ers week 2 against the Saints, and Jaguars are a much better team than the Saints. So let me be clear about that. It would not be a shocker. But I felt like at that point, like Mac Jones was in, we talk about injuries, like, okay, at some point you are playing another NFL team, even if they're bad. Right. You're playing a 10 a.m. time slot for where you're from in the West Coast. You're on the road, you're traveling, and we just had a plethora of injuries. I thought it would be too much to overcome, and it wasn't. Every single week, the 49ers have just been in these gritty games, and they found a way to get it done. And I could see this being very similar, where they just kind of grind this one out. They stick around, and then at the end, they figure out how to get it done. But it is going to be tough without Nick Bosa, man. If Trevor Lawrence has time, I think that it could get a little ugly. And I have to admit, your guys' run game is another thing that we didn't talk about a lot. I know that you did mention it as a strength, but it's one of those things where I'm looking at the 49ers defense, and as great as that front seven has played to me, I still do question, can they consistently stop a good running game? And the Jaguars are going to bring that. They're not going to stop running. If they can start running the ball, it's not going to stop. Liam Cohen's going to go with that run game, and I've watched it happen. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. That being said, I think this one's tight, but I'm gonna go with the home team, the 49ers, to win this one 24-20. And I'll go with Brock Purdy to get the game-winning drive at the end and throw a touchdown to Jennings. That's how they get it done.
I have this game super close. Like I have it as a coin flip. I think both teams are good. I think both, I heard you on your last show kind of talk about how the beginning of the season you had the 49ers as being second in the division. And with them overcoming the adversity the 49ers have had, I see them winning this division. I mean, I know Rams are good, but like I like the 49ers. You still had Shanahan, you still got Lynch, you still got CMC, there's DNA there. A winning DNA. So I like the 49ers. And this game could go either way. I would not be surprised, but just as a Jags fan, being able to say that is exciting for me.
Well, and that's just it I can't see a blowout one way or another. And that's, to me, Jason, like when I looked at the forecast of the season, the 49ers have been very fortunate to just be better than most teams for so many years and blow out a lot of teams in the NFL, which is not normal. Games in the NFL are usually very close. This year, I knew that the 49ers would be in a lot of tight games, and I was curious to see how fast they could develop that winning method, because it is tough to win in the NFL week in and week out. And so far, so good. All 3 games have been tight, and they've won those. I just feel like they're building their chops to win in these close games. And I think it's going to happen again in week 4, where they're going to be in this tight game, but they're not going to panic. They've been there for 3 weeks in a row, and it's just going to be enough. But it certainly is going to be a fun game to watch. I'm really, really interested in this one. And every week that the 49ers find a way to pull it out, the more and more I get confident in this team. And beating the Jaguars are not a bad team, man. They've got some talent over there, and this would build my confidence even more. So I hope that they can get it done. I really do.
I will give you guys credit. The Jaguars have only been a team since 1995. We don't have
Hmm.
the history and lineage that you all have, as far as like our parents weren't fans of the Jaguars. And we are like, my
Right.
age is the first generation. So when
Yeah.
when the 49ers came to Jacksonville, I had like, someone gave me the best tickets in the world, like Cabana, they're by the pools, free food. 49ers come to town. 75% of the stadiums in 49ers jerseys. They beat us like 50-0. I'm like, I'm miserable. Like, this is absolutely miserable. So I can give your fans credit. They travel well, even all the way out there from the West Coast. That was quite an experience.
Hey, I remember though those Jags teams, man, they got pretty good with Burnell and
Yeah.
McCardell and Jimmy Smith. I mean, that was a good, fun team to watch, man. And I was a Burnell guy because I big Steve Young guy growing up, and I was like, Burnell is basically a poor man Steve Young,
Yeah.
man. He was so fun to watch for a
Yeah.
few years. So I
Lefty.
always had a soft spot in my heart
Mhm.
for the Jaguars because of that.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. Hey, thank you so much for joining me. Everybody in the chat that contributed both on his channel and mine. I always say go check out Jason, Jaguars United guys. Even if nothing else, to brag if the 49ers win, talk your trash. I'm sure that he would welcome you over there.
Oh, yeah.
All views are good views.
Yep.
Jason just gave us a good 45 minutes of his time, so we appreciate him. So I'll be back for the post game show on Sunday, and I appreciate you, Jason, everybody in the chat. Thank you for contributing. Much love. Peace.